Hey, this is going to be a bonus post-processing video in which we'll give our render a quick post-processing and color grading treatment using the universal post-processing chain we created in the first chapters of the course. While post-processing won't be earth-shattering in this one, we'll still try to get most value for the money, extracting some more punch and contrast and, well, aesthetically pleasing qualities from the cinematic lighting setup we have created. It will be based on a fairly universal chain of effects we have tackled earlier in the course, such as glare, lens distortion, vignette and other optical aberrations, some fairly basic color grading to basically swivel it in the creative direction we want. It will be a fairly short video, I believe, a quickly digestible one. Let's go. Here we are. Still in the Blender Compositor. The Use Nodes checkbox is ticked. The backdrop turned on and showing us the preview. If there is no preview, there must be the viewer node for it to work. Let me show it to you. As a quick reminder, after highlighting the viewer node, the backdrop gets highlighted as well in the user interface and is open to manipulations, such as resizing and moving it around and stuff like that. V and Alt-V shortcuts do the same thing. They scale the image up and down, and the crosshair in the middle can be used to move it as well. Also, let's make it nice and big. Previously, we finished setting up the light groups that now go through the denoise node, and these light groups are still there in this blend file. We still have them. We will pick it up from here. You'll see them if you scroll to the left. So basically, these are our lighting passes combined into one image. We'll pick it up from there. We can either temporarily switch denoising off because it causes a lag, or at least we can change its mode to fast or none. To fast-track post-processing, I'm gonna go ahead and append our node group with all the nodes from the universal post-processing chain that we set up. A beautiful trademark sign popping up there. If you wish to follow along, you can append it from one of the project files. It is located in the node tree subfolder of this file, postpro01. Once again, it is the same node group we put together in chapter 1. Now we can just reuse it. After appending it, it should become available in the Shift-A menu under the Group tab. And here it is. Now it's just a matter of interjecting it into our chain. It most likely looks like hot garbage out of the box because it was put together with a different scene in mind. But in a moment we'll go through the adjustments and fine-tune it to the current shot. Tab should teleport us into the group. To reset the adjustments, I'll drag the selection rectangle around all the nodes and hit M to mute them. Now when we have a clean plate, let's turn the adjustments on step by step, starting with the glare. Let's not forget that underneath all processing there's a layer of high dynamic range light values, and that makes the effects depending on these values like glare possible. Now the pixels with the values higher than 1 got a bloom around them. To my taste, it's slightly too dreamy, and for that reason, I think it's worth setting the bar higher, to 5 perhaps. Yep, looking good. Not too much, not too little. M to enable the lens distortion next. I am a huge fan of optical aberrations in general, and chromatic fringing effect in particular. Okay, now moving on to the vignette nodes, unmuting them all. Oh, that sweet darkening near the edges. One more lens imperfection, drawing the focus to the center of the screen where the most interesting stuff usually happens anyway. I think we had a different aspect ratio the last time though. Now we have to type in proper height there. Something like that. Next, I'll go really quickly through the color adjustments such as temperature, tint, saturation and color balance, starting with the temperature. Actually, not sure if I want to make our colors warmer or cooler, but I definitely want to try to integrate all colors with mixing in some green with the tint node. It'll bring it closer to a limited color palette. It's usually a good thing. As for a bleach bypass via slight desaturation, follow your taste, I guess. I don't think our image begs for desaturation. It is fairly neutral actually as it is. Okay, what else? Now turning on the color balance node. Note that the correction formula is offset power slope and not lived gamma gain, as the latter is broken and doesn't work as intended with the scene referred light data. Aside from tweaking the hues in the different tonal ranges, it can be used to control the contrast as well. So the first sliders I usually adjust are the grayscale vertical controls. Bringing it higher could sharpen the overall contrast too much though, to the point of crunching the details in the shadows and highlights, so be careful. The color grading logic I usually follow through with this node is to separate the midtones and the highlights, or the shadows, let's say, and the highlights in terms of their temperature or tint. Say, the midtones moving slightly towards cyan and the highlights towards orange, let's say. Nothing too fancy though. Okay, moving on to the next one, and pressing M to wake up the film grain group of nodes. Well, it's actually a digital noise, but never mind, there are the film grain textures to be found in the project files as well. You can say that such tweaks are not technically a part of what we call lighting, although the case can be made that optical aberrations do change the look and feel of the light data captured by our virtual blender sensor. So adding a bit of noise here, not a crazy amount, but just a little bit of dithering to give it some texture, I guess. Lastly, this set of nodes is in charge of the output blanking to try different aspect ratios in this quick and dirty way. With the y-axis, we can tweak how wide the aspect ratio should be. This is just for the sake of preview, you know. Alright, I think we walked through all the building blocks of our Universal Post-Pro chain, packed nicely into this group. By the way, now we can tab out of it anytime and toggle the whole thing on and off to compare before and after. Let's not forget that on top of post-processing we have the view transform with a bunch of options like curves, exposure, view transform type itself, which is filmic in our case. I see the RGB curves as the mastering type of a quick color adjustment that adds a final idiosyncratic touch to the image. It can be used to control the contrast as well, but I see it mostly as this quick color grading pass. Then there's exposure, of course, to keep in mind. It's one of the fundamental properties of image formation in how our scene light data turns into the display referred image. Then we have the filmic view transform, of course. Keep it like that, as the standard one is just not as robust in the way it treats the parts that are about to get overexposed and so on. The filmic is simply speaking the better view transform, which preserves the light data in a more thoughtful way, which is similar to how the film emulsion-like media treats light. So the color management settings are important to factor in and to keep in mind generally too. Alright, super awesome. With all the adjustments in place, the final image can be saved in one of the display-referred formats to be viewed. So I open the image editor with the viewer node selected, then save as and choosing one of the 8-bit formats like TIFF, PNG, or any other good old 8-bit formats for storing good old display-referred image data type. After saving it like that, we will effectively bake all the pixels to RGB display referred values, and we won't be able to tweak it like that anymore. So that is the point of no return for us image makers, the divide beyond which no scene referred light data exists. On a quick note, even after the post-pro work has been done, we still have full access to the light groups from the previous tutorial. And with the post-pro layer in place, these groups can still be used to relight our original render. That makes our post-pro workflow complete. Let's sum it up. So what do we do? What does our pipeline look like? So we have our render exported to 32-bit EXR as a collection of light groups to preserve the full range of the scene-referred light data, or just freshly rendered if you're okay with tweaking the lights and re-rendering. Then we denoise the whole package, and eventually apply a bunch of post-processing bells and whistles to kick it up a notch. If we have the light groups available, we are able to rework the mood and style at any time after everything is set up though. That is our workflow in a nutshell for this tutorial. Thank you so much for watching this bonus post-pro video in which we looked at how to import the post-processing group node from the first chapter of this course and boost the aesthetic qualities of our raw renders. So thanks again, I will see you in the next video.